And we're live. The camera's a little low. There we go. That's a little high. Damn it. There we go. Close enough, right? How y'all doing today? Hope y'all had a good week behind us. And let's say hello to everybody. Let's see, who got the insanely large cookie? It looks like Hot Dog Pilot Andy got it. All right, Andy, you got the insanely large cookie. Congrats. Good to see you here, too, by the way. And it looks like Thomas Grassy, he got the insanely large half cookie. Good to see you here, Tom. And enjoy that cookie. And unfortunately, Gerald Stewart got crumbs. Anyway, Gerald, we're still glad to see you here. So maybe next time you'll get the cookie. And we got Chuck Schreiber. How you doing, Chuck? Good to see you here. And we have Anfield Road Layout in the Loft. Lee, how's it going? Says he's in chat listening as working on his layout. Good for you, man. Enjoy it. And let's see who else. That's it. No, you're not. Everybody's here. Imagine that. Well, I'm sure more will turn up later. Now for tonight, I have two short videos to show you. We're not going to do this just yet. One's actually pretty interesting. It's about a whistleblower for BNSF. And it's actually, it's telling, let me say that. And I tell you, I'm sure that the other rail lines are suffering probably from the same problems. But I'm not going to give away the story, so I'll let you see that in a little while. It's a 5-minute video, but it's well worth the time. Let's see, what else we got going here? Well, not really much. Of course, as usual, I haven't done a damn thing in here in the last week. I mean, really, I haven't done nothing. Matter of fact, I've hardly even been in here. I've been kind of busy with other things. I had a doctor's appointment I had to deal with. Had to go get a blood draw, deal with that, and just general cleanup around the yard and stuff. I'm trying to get things, trying to put things back together around here. As far as, the yard's kind of a big mess. I mean, the weather patterns have been screwy. I've got a lot of trees in my yard, and they've been dropping leaves for about the last, 10, 11 months. And they're still dropping leaves, even though it's springtime. So there's a ton of leaves down here that I could probably get some of them with the riding mower, but the vast majority of them that are in the driveway and the plant beds, that's going to be a disaster to clean up at some point. And I'm sure I will not have fun doing it. But at some point it'll get done. So, I haven't even given too much thought to what I want to do in here lately. Like I said, it's fairly, well, it's not terrible. It's kind of a bird's eye view of everything going on. See up the top shelf, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be put away. Same with all the way in the back there. This side here is pretty clean. But next month, I'm hoping I could maybe spend maybe $50, about all I can afford probably, for my personal budget. We haven't hammered out a budget yet, but it's not going to be a whole lot. It might be $100, and even that's not really much, but it's going to have to do. I'll try and get some more foam and plywood. I'm using 1/4-inch plywood, which is at the moment, well, I haven't actually checked it, but 4 or 5 months ago, I bought a sheet. It was $27 for a sheet, which isn't bad for, sanding one side. And it really doesn't even have to be. That was actually all they had. It could be rough sawn, and it don't matter to me because it's going to be covered with the pink foam anyway. But I'm thinking I need, let's see, probably 2 sheets. So I'll probably buy 1 sheet this month, 1 sheet next month. Well, not this month, but next month and the month after. And then I can afford I'll probably have to do the same thing with the foam. I'm probably looking at 3 sheets of foam. I don't know what the price is on that. I know it went up tremendously. It used to be $18 for a 4x8 sheet. I think now it's closer to 31. I haven't checked lately. I doubt if it's calmed down though. I just hope it hasn't gone up anymore. I gotta have it though. So, like I said, if it takes me a little longer to get the foam, that's fine. And then once I get the foam and the wood down, I can start laying track. I already have all the track I need. Thomas Grassi, he donated a bunch of flex track to me rather, which I highly appreciate, and that's going to save me a ton of money when it comes to laying the track down on the second level. Now, for now, and I know I've probably talked about this, but I'm going to go over it again. What the hell was I going to say? Shit. I lost my train of thought. Don't you hate when that happens? Switch over here to the front view. What the hell was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Now, because of recent events and the way things are just in general, and I'm going to get into that a little bit later too. Some of my added unexpected expenses that glorious government threw down on us, And I know some of you Social Security and Medicare recipients probably know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to be able to do the shed expansion anytime soon. Now, I'm seriously kicking around that maybe 4, 5, 6 months from now, I might actually purchase a small metal shed, maybe like an 4x8 or something, and tie it into the outside wall, and that's where I'll put my helix at, so I can get from top to bottom, and that would be an inexpensive way to do the expansion temporary. Well, I mean, it'd be a permanent part of the shed, and then later on I could actually build a more permanent addition behind me for what I wanted to do with the printers and stuff. But that, like I said, it's not a priority, and it may take a year, maybe longer. I don't know. I don't really care. We'll see how it goes. So that's kind of the plan that I've got in mind. Those small sheds, you can get them pretty cheap. Maybe from $200 to $500 probably. And I said I don't need a big one. I just need something big enough to house a helix. And I think the helix is only going to be around 4 foot diameter. So you'd probably want to go a little bit more than that, maybe 5 or 6 foot wide and out. So actually, a 6x6 shed would be perfect. I don't even know if they make such a thing, but, or even if worse comes to worse, I could even build a cheap one, Like I said, there's not much to them, and it would be an easy build to do. And I would have a door on it for access, in case I had to get in there for something, because it won't be the big expansion that I originally planned on. But it's possible. No, actually, Andy, I have nothing on the printers. None of my printers have been well, I haven't used them. They're not wrong with them. But I haven't used them in probably, I think maybe going on 3 months now. I just haven't had anything to make, Like I said, my issues right now, and you guys are aware of some of them. Hey, Russ, Rocketo and HO Trains and stuff. Good to see you here, Russ. Dundas Junction Model Railroad, James, good to see you. Glad you're here. I think Grandpa Rails, hey JD, good to see you. Thank you for the account. And you guys are not hitting the like button. They do this every week, man. Come on, hit that damn button already. It's good for whatever. What the hell was they saying now? Shit. Lost my train of thought again. My train been falling off the track all week here for some reason. What the hell was I talking about? fucking forgot. Oh yeah, all right. So the brain works. It's just running at a little turtle speed right now. It's running at sub-idle speed. All right, James. Congrats, man. 1,000 subs. Good for you. Shit, I lost my train of thought again. Damn it. I'm losing my mind. No, I really do. I didn't lose my train of thought. Since some of y'all know what I've been going through the last month or so, my personal life and other things, which is back on track to getting corrected, hopefully. My wife is due back here on April 30th. So that's a good thing. I think we hopefully solved all our issues between each other, and I think we'll be fine from here on in. But it's been weighing heavily on me, and of course it distracted me. James says my mind is okay. Are you sure about that? You know what they say: when you're convinced you're okay, you're usually not. So give me a chance. There you go. Anyway, I'm feeling a lot better now, and they said I'm pretty sure things will work out fine in that area. But it did come with some changes that we both agreed we have to make, and that's kind of regarding hobbies and stuff. I'm not giving up my hobby, so I don't even think that, and I'm not asking her to give up anything either. And we're going to put more time in for each other, and the hobbies will be secondary, which is the way it should be anyway. Unfortunately, for a while there, I was putting my hobby before her and everything else, and it was causing problems, and I won't make that mistake again. So I'll still get things done here. It just may take a little longer. And like I said, unless I win the lottery, which I don't play, so it's not likely I'll ever win it. The money's tight, and I can only do what I can do. I'll print what I can, and unfortunately I'll have to buy whatever I can't print. So the rest says I gotta go to my computer for you can't hit like on the TV? I don't know. I've never watched YouTube on the TV. My wife has, but I don't think you can actually do a thumbs up on the TV, can you? That's stupid. They should figure out a way to make that happen on there. No, what are you gonna do? Still, hit that fucking button. It's important. So overall, I should be able to, hopefully, even with the changes that we all need to make, it's going to work out good for all of us, both of us, all the ways around. So that's a good thing. And what the hell's going on out there? I say a lot of weird stuff going on these days. It's like someone's beating their car door or something. I don't know. What was I gonna say? Hopefully you'll see a lot more get done in the coming year, the rest of 2025, than you did in the previous year. I mean, I did a few things last year, but overall, I haven't really done much of anything in the last, I would say, 6 or 7 months. I guess. Not really. So even on the limited time that I'll have in here in the future, which is fine, I'm going to make better use of that time and actually get things accomplished. So before I was kind of coming in here, just kind of sitting around, watching YouTube videos and not really getting a whole lot done. That's not a good way to run a hobby, So I gotta pay more attention to what I'm doing and actually get some things accomplished, you know. We'll see how it goes. So that's my plan for the near future and probably the far future too. Yeah, maybe I ought to start playing the damn lottery. You never know. Maybe I don't know if I'll ever win the big money, but even if I won, a couple 100,000 or whatever, I'd be happy with that. I'd be set for a long time with that kind of money. Hey, Crooked River and Eastern Railroad, Mr. Dave, how's it going, Dave? I missed your show again this morning. It wasn't that I got up late or anything, but I had so much to do that I couldn't sit down and actually watch it. So I'm going to watch the replay probably later tonight. And I did put something in the comments there that, I missed the show, and I apologize for that. I'm getting bad. I mean, I wish I could spend more time to watch some of the live streams out there, but I just really haven't had the time to do it, Like I said, there's a whole bunch of stuff going on, and I have to deal with so many different things that, especially being here on my own at the moment. I mean, a lot of stuff that my wife used to do, I find myself doing now, taking out the trash, bringing the cans out, bringing the cans back in, doing a little yard cleanup, keeping the house clean, which isn't too hard because I don't really make a mess. I'm cooking for myself, at least twice a day. Showers. I mean, there's just so many things that, I have to do that I either had help with or Deb did all the way around. But, I mean, this is okay because this is my new routine, and it probably won't change much when she comes back. But, but that explains why I don't have a lot of time for a bunch of stuff. Russ is there. I smashed the fucking like button, Jim. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. And James says I need to go to the store back in the bed. All right, James. We'll still be here probably. Yeah, I appreciate that, Dave. No worries. It's all good. And he says, I finally got the new EcoTank printer we talked about a month ago. Now to set it all up. Yeah, you're going to like that, man. I'm telling you. I like mine. I don't use it as much as I hoped I would. But when I do use it, it does a beautiful job for me. And I use it for everything, stuff in here. Plus, the printer I have in the house is a laser printer. And I ran out of black, the powder, whatever you call it, the ink. And I'm too cheap to buy a new tank, because it's like $60. And I don't use that printer enough to even justify it. So I'm doing a lot of my business stuff here as well. Like I drew up leases and stuff for the apartment, printed them out on this rather. Normally I would do it in the house. I'm just doing it out here. And I barely touch the ink in this thing. So, I mean, it's a good deal all the way around. James asked Russ, did you kill that button? And he says, yes, I did. Yeah, toner, that's it. I couldn't remember the damn word. Because I have toner cartridges in that. There's 4 of them. The primary colors and the black. And I usually buy double the black because the black goes quicker than the other, because it's a color laser printer. Well, like I said, it's not cheap, and I get aftermarket toner for it. If I actually got the Xerox toner, it would cost me about $300 to refill the damn thing, and it's ridiculous. I got plenty of toner, and I think I got the yellow toner, I got an extra cartridge, and the magenta, I got an extra cartridge. So I don't have the what's the other one? Cyan. I don't have a cyan one, and I don't have a black one because I use a second black cartridge already. So, and I would go to like was it inkfarm.com. They got pretty good prices on aftermarket toners. And I think it's like $30 for a black cartridge, which isn't terribly bad, and that's free shipping. But I just really don't want to waste the money on it when I got this machine here. I could print for now and not spend any money, elsewhere. So I'm really keeping a close eye on my money lately. I just have to, And I'm going to talk about that in my rant, which is coming up in a few minutes. GRE 2057, how you doing there? I don't even know your name. I don't remember it anyway. I just call you GRE, but glad to see you here and enjoy the show. And let's see, anybody else sneak in? Not yet. Yeah, unfortunately, that's true, Tom. It's ridiculous. I mean, I bought that. It's a Xerox printer, a color. It's an all-in-one. Does scan, copy, all that crap. And well, it doesn't have a fax. Yeah, it does have a fax machine in it. I don't use the fax because I don't have a landline anymore. But I did use the fax, so it was great for doctors and stuff. But yeah, Andy, there's a rant. It'll be here in a minute. It is. It's ridiculous. I said if I bought the Xerox toner, it cost almost as much to refill that machine, almost as much as it cost to buy the damn printer. I think I gave almost $300 on the printer, and I think it's right around $300 to replace all 4 colors of the toner if you go with the Xerox, because that shit's like $80 a fucking cartridge. What the fuck, man? Let's see. Thank you, JD. We're still short. 8 of you are slacking. Quit slacking, damn it. Hit that fucking like button. Yeah, you have to excuse my language, but the way I talk, man. All right, yeah, let's do the rant. What the hell? Is it time for a rant? It is time for a rant, damn it. Now, you guys know I'm diabetic, right? And I shoot insulin, I have 2 types of insulin. I have the Lantus, which is 1 time a day, which I scaled back on because I actually lost some weight, which is good, Not enough, but starting. And then I take the Novolog, which I take before or after each meal. I don't do breakfast anymore, so I'm saving on insulin. All I'm doing now is lunch and dinner. And I feel great, by the way. And I'm losing weight, so I must be doing something right. Well, I was getting my Novolog. They come in the pens. It's a pre-filled pen, and you dial in what you need and shoot yourself with it. And it's good until you empty it out. It's usually I can make a pen last about, depending upon how much I need, up to 2 weeks, which is pretty damn good. I was paying for 60 days supply, 2 months. I was paying $11.25 for it. Well, I just got to order a new one, a new script, right? A refill. That was the word I was looking for. And I look at the price, I had a fucking heart attack, man. I think I got a pacemaker, right? Probably would have died otherwise. No, I didn't really have a heart attack, but it was ridiculous. $60 fucking for the same thing I paid $11.25 for 3 months ago. What the fuck? It's bad enough I lost my extra help status for the most part from Medicare, because now they claim I make too much money. And I'm thinking I'm living like 30,000 below the poverty level, but I'm making too much money, right? So they raised the price to $60 for 2 months supply of insulin. Now I could probably make it last 3 months because, like I said, I'm not using as much because I've changed my diet somewhat and actually lowered my A1C and shit, which is my doctors are thrilled with it. They can't figure out how I'm doing this shit. I said, well, I am. Does it matter how? But there's something wrong in this country. Now, I remember last year I was talking to, what the hell is his name? Shit. Forgot his name right. Hardy, down in Australia. He said they can get insulin there for like $5 a box. And I think there's 5 pens in a box, right? And a box would probably be good for, well, depending upon how much you use, probably a month, month and a half. So I get literally, I think I get 3 boxes and an extra pen for 3 months supply, or I was. But now I'm only going to get 2 months, so it'll probably just be 2 boxes for $60. Now you explain to me how in the fuck they can sell that shit in Australia for $5 a box, but here it's $30 a box. There's something wrong with the system here. And I'm not blaming Trump. I don't think he has nothing to do with it. This may get thrown back to Biden, because remember he was fucking around with that shit before he left office. And I hope Trump steps in and does something about it, because you know what? We shouldn't be paying no more than $5 a box, just like Australia does. And probably a handful of other countries that I don't know about. It's ridiculous. Insulin's been around since like 1910. How much money do they need to make off of this shit? It don't cost nothing to make, hardly. It's ridiculous. It's the only thing I actually pay for out of the few medications I take, and the Lantus I get in a vial, and I have to use a needle to suck it out and inject myself with. And the vials are free. Now I can get the Novolog in the vial, probably for free, and I may wind up doing it, because that's a lot of money to throw down, every couple of 3 months. The only reason I did that in the pen, because A, it was convenient, and I wouldn't get them mixed up. Like I'd probably have to take a marker and mark, because the vials look the same. You'd have to actually read them to see one says Novolog and one says Lantus. Other than that, they're identical. So, you don't want to take too much of one or not enough of the other. That's not good for you. I mean, you probably won't die or anything, but, I actually overdosed myself on Novolog once. Once again, I was getting them both in the pens at the time, and the pens were the same color. And I thought I was taking the Lantus, and actually shot the Novolog. I took I think it was 55 units of Novolog, which normally I take like 18. And I think, oh fuck now. And I was real early when I started taking insulin. And I kind of panicked, and I'm on the phone, calling, the nearest hospital. He says, what do I do? What do I do? He said, just eat something. You'll be fine. Okay, because we were traveling at the time. We were going up to North Carolina to see my third son. Me and Deb. And so here I am on I-75 in the middle of fucking nowhere. Or I-95 rather, in the middle of nowhere. And I'm thinking, what the fuck, man? If I go down now, I'm screwed, So I kind of panicked, even though I didn't, I didn't. Well, he said I didn't know much about it at the time. Now, if you take too much, and it happens sometimes, I don't have to take a whole lot. And what'll happen is we call it crashing. Basically, that's what happens. You'll go into a cold sweat. You'll start seeing a little funny. I mean, eventually, you'll pass out and you can go into a diabetic coma if you don't do something. But if you catch it quick enough, you can take this stuff here. Now I keep a bottle on every vehicle I have, including my scooter. It's called Glucose Shot. And you just drink this and it brings your sugar rate back up immediately. Or you can eat something. Like I crash in the night sometimes. I'll wake up 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm in a cold sweat, and my eyes are a little blurry and shit. And hobble over to the kitchen, make a peanut butter sandwich, open up a soda, consume both quickly, and 10 minutes later I'm back to normal. And it's just something you don't always have control over. So, but anyway, that's my rant. That we're really getting bent over on these drugs. And I'm sure it's not just insulin. That's just one thing that I noticed. That's another thing. How come the vial is free? You actually get more insulin in the vial than you do in the pen. But the pens cost money. What the fuck? Yeah, you guys are right, man. At least said he smashed the like button with the double lock gauge sled hammer. There you go. Ah. Dave says, Thomas, that's what I decided to do cheaper. Andy said, you're getting bent over, Jim. Well, yeah, we're all getting bent over in this country. And Dave said, Timu supplies Australia, LOL. The bottles are smaller. No, they got the same pens we do. You know, I mean, you can get them either way. The pens are convenient because you screw on a needle, little tiny needles, and you set the units to what you need. You twist it. So you need 10 units, so you move it over to 10. Insert it, push the button, and it's done. And you get an exact amount. Where with a syringe, you kind of got to guess. And I tend to use whole numbers on the syringe. You know, like 60 or 70, or I was doing, like I said, when I started was 55. I actually jumped up to 70. And, you know, the doctor was bitching, you're taking too much insulin. I said, well, I need it, you know. They said, well, you're going to gain weight, which I did. And I actually got up to 236. Now I'm down to 223. So I lost, like, what was that, 12 pounds? I'm doing good. Even doctors said, man, you can't believe it. You're kicking ass like this, you know. So, well, knock wood, let's hope it stays. They even took me off of 2 of my pills. I was taking spironolactone, which is it's kind of a water pill of sorts. They said, you don't need it, stop taking it. It's all right. And the I can never pronounce it, butemonide or, yeah, whatever it's called. It's a water pill, diuretic. He says, take it as needed now, because they had me taking it 3 times a week. I was originally taking it every day, 7 times a week. He says, now you don't need it now. He says, you're looking good. You obviously your diet change is making a big difference. Only take it if you start to swell and if your ankles start to swell. I said, all right, cool. Well, honestly, I hopefully I won't even need it, you know. And the same thing with the vitamin D. So your vitamin D levels are through the roof, which is kind of good, but not. He said, I want you to stop taking the vitamin D supplement. He says it because it could mess up your brain a little bit, you know. And they think it might have something to do with dementia. He says, all right, so I'll quit taking that. We'll just monitor. If I get low again, I'll obviously have to get back on it, but we'll see how it goes. And that could be because I'm spending more time outside. Before I was more of a hermit. I'm either in here in the shed or in the main house. You know, I'm like a vampire. Me and sunlight didn't get along too well. But it's actually been nice outside. It's been sunny but cool. And it's the sunshine, the UV, that gives you the vitamin D3 that you need. So that's probably why I have more than I need, so I don't need to supplement anymore. It's a good thing. So, you know. All right, we're getting better. JD said we're up 14-10. Warriors are still slacking, damn it. Don't make me come hunt you down. Hit the damn button. Real artist, how you doing? Good to see you. He says, get the vials if they are free. Then put blue painter's tape around on and mark with a huge M. Yeah, that's a good idea. Are you diabetic by any chance? Because only a diabetic would probably think about that, I would think. But that's smart. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and buy this round that's in there now because they're already waiting for me. But I think from there on, I'm going to switch to the vials. Same thing with the syringes. I get the syringes for free too. So I'll have the doctor write me up an order for more syringes. I'm getting 200 every 3 months now, which is actually more than I need. But he could boost me up to maybe 300 or 400 every 3 months. I'll start stockpiling them like I used to. And I don't reuse them, it's just one-time deal, you know. And I'll just start doing that. Because I'll tell you what, it's ridiculous what the hell they're doing here, you know. And the worst part is, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. The pen is simple. It's a piece of plastic with a threaded end you screw a little needle on. Don't come with the needles, they're separate, you know. And that's the worst part is I got like probably a 5-year supply of needles because they always gave me more than I needed. You know, way more than I needed. So, but I don't care. It's not a bit. I didn't pay for them, so I really don't give a shit. But I'll hang on to them just in case, I ever go back to the pen later on. But and then you got basically the rotator, the dial it in, and then you push that same rotator to dispense the insulin. It's a very simple device. It's not much different than a fucking, an ink pen. Same thing, you know. So where the vial, of course, is about as basic as it gets. It's a piece of glass with a metal and sponge cap on it. You stick your needle in there, you draw it out. I said, I just don't understand some of the stupidity that goes on in this country. And the worst part is they know you need this stuff. It's not like you can say, well, fuck it, I don't really need it. I just won't buy it. Now, you can do without things like, soda, even certain foods. But if you're diabetic, you need that damn insulin. It's fucked up. It really is. So anyway, that's my rant for the day. At least I had one for a change. I don't usually have a rant lately. And of course, this just happened. Like, I just got the notice today, from Walmart saying, we got your insulin ready. Bring $60. I'm going, oh, $60? What the fuck, Yeah, it really is a bunch of shit, And my wife's complaining, she starts her Medicare next month. She retired at 62, but you can't collect Medicare until you're 65 unless you're disabled. Now, I started Medicare back in, I think, 2010. No, 09, because I became disabled in 7, and I had to wait 2 years still had to wait 2 years, even though I was disabled, to get Medicare, which really sucked because I had to pay out of pocket for my medications. Believe me, it cost me a fortune, So anyway, she's saying, well, they're going to take out, I think it's $184 right off the top every month out of her Social Security check to go, that's her, what would you call it, her fee for Medicare, a monthly fee. And then you still have deductibles and, all this other crap. She goes, this is bullshit. I said, yeah, it is. But, I think she applied for extra help, which is fine. But the extra help will only go toward her medications. Well, it used to be that they applied it toward your fee that you paid in every month. I can't remember what it's called now, but because I didn't have to pay it, and I'm still now I instead of paying $184, they're charging me $54 a month for Medicare. So I didn't lose my total extra help, but most of it. Once again, because I make too much money. All right. She makes half the money I make, roughly, and she's paying $184 for her Medicare fee. It ain't right, And it wouldn't be so bad if they covered 100% of everything. Your copays and shit were zero, because most of my copays are zero. All my medications are free except for the Novolog, and my primary care doctor, there's no copay. And my kidney doctor and cardiologist, it's a $10 copay, which isn't bad, And I see I just saw my kidney doctor yesterday, and I only see him once every 3 months, so that's $10 every 3 months. That ain't shit, And my cardiologist I see once or twice a year. I spend more money in gas to go down to Naples to see him. Plus, I get my pacemaker checked as well. Because I'm getting, I think, I've had it 5 years now. I don't remember if it's a 7-year battery or 10-year battery. It might only be a 7, so I'm not sure. So at some point, they're going to have to replace it. So when you get near that point, they have you tested more often. Chances are I'll probably move that up here. They have an Advent hospital, which is the people that actually put it in. The one in Orlando, but they have one here in Sebring, a branch. I may let them start checking it. Then I don't have to travel, 112 miles to, you know, for a 10-minute check, spend 2 hours driving each way. So, I'm gonna have to make some changes here one way or the other because it's just the way things are panning out. They're making it difficult. Unfortunately, I like my cardiologist down there. He's a Chinese guy, Dr. Lu, Luu. What a name, right? I don't know what the hell his first name is. But nice guy, pretty smart, you know. And I like to keep them because every time you change doctors, the first thing they want to do is fuck with your meds. I've had it happen too many times. Oh, all right, well, I'm the doctor now. Let's look at your medications. Oh, we can change this. No, we're not changing nothing. They're staying the fucking way they are. They're working fine. Don't mess with them. That's what I tell them, and they do it because I ain't putting up with nobody's shit. I don't give a fuck what you think. This is what the big hospital put me on. I'm on the same medications that from Advent when I had the pacemaker put in and my heart gave out and all that shit. We're not changing nothing. I mean, I said my kidney doctor took me off 2 drugs, which was a good thing. And I really don't need them anymore. But at least she's not saying, well, here, let's not have this. Let's put this in instead, Because some of these doctors, they're getting paid. They're getting kickbacks to push certain drugs. I ain't playing that shit. Been there, done that. So, like I said, if I find a doctor up here, he's going to have, the first thing we have to understand is, look, these are my medications. You don't fuck with them. And we'll be fine. All you need to do is check my heart, do an echocardiogram every now and then, because that's what they did down there. I think they get once a year, every 2 years they do it, just to make sure. And then they check my pacemaker, which is actually a separate deal, because down there they only do it one time every 3 months, one day. That's why I said I kind of have to go along with their schedule, so I'm going there May 6th. It's on a Tuesday, I believe. And they only do it for a couple hours, so I gotta be there, But like I said, it's a pain in the ass. Drive all the way down there. 10 minutes, they check it. All right, we'll see you next time. And I spend like $100 in gas. It's kind of stupid. Well, I don't spend that much, but close. So, Oh, James is back. He says, I won't see the cardiologist until sometime in June. Well, normally if things are going good, they'll see you like every 6 months. That's what they want to see me every 6 months. But I told him, I said, look, hey, Gerald, good to see you, man. Glad you're here. It's a long drive. I really don't want to come down here twice a year. He says, all right, well, we'll just do it once a year then. For a while there, but now, like I said, I'm getting close to the battery expiration date on my pacemaker. I think the last time I looked, it was still 68%. I think when it gets down to 50, they like to replace it, just to be on the safe side. So, I said, whenever they want to change it, that's fine by me, Of course, I'll have it done. I may even go back to Orlando and have them do it because, they did it the first time. Or I might just have them do the satellite branch over here at Advent do it. I mean, I don't think they can screw it up. Here comes Bionic Jim. Well, I wouldn't go that far. But, sorry, I was off for a bit holding my dinner plate. Loading your dinner plate, okay. Oh, you gotta eat, man. Hey, Curly Express, Dwight, how's it going, man? Good to see you. Hey, I watched your short today. The Anycubic block. Photon, whatever it's called. I forgot what it's called. Anyway, the block. The resin printer. Mine makes that same noise when I start it. For about a minute, maybe 2. And then it just goes quiet and everything works fine. It sounds to me like the fan in there might either be off balance or maybe need lubrication. There's a cooling fan inside. That's what it sounds like to me. I haven't torn mine apart yet to find out. I'm not in a big hurry to do it, but at some point I may have to because it's a little. It's not really a problem, but it's a little aggravating here. You know, it sounds like it's getting ready to explode. They said I listened to your short, and I'm going, mine does that. So it must be a common problem with that particular printer because it's the same printer I have. We got the Photon. I can't even see it. The Photon Mono 2. I'm pretty sure yours is the same one. It looks the same. So it is what it is. But we'll work it out at some point. All right. JD reports 1512. There's still 3 of them slacking. Come on, guys. Hit the damn button. It's right there. Somewhere, right? Unless you're watching on the TV, and I guess you can't hit it. But that's no excuse. That what I do, jump up here again? Yeah. Hey, Ray Bertelson, how you doing? Good to see you. He says, I didn't qualify for disability, so I get a whopping $1,650 a month to live on. That doesn't fill my gas tank to get to the store to buy food. I have no dollars left after paying bills. Man, I hear you. I have a little better than that. Well, actually, no, I don't. You're getting more than I do. I get $1,545. I'm on disability. And I don't know if disability pays more or not now. And it depends where you live, too. Well, you're here in Florida. No, you're in South Carolina. Some states pay more than others. I believe it or not, I think Illinois is one of the better paying states, and so is New York. The problem is, theoretically, if you move, you're supposed to notify them and they will adjust your rate. But I know a lot of guys that come down from, Illinois, they don't tell anybody, and they still get to say they get $2,000 a month, for disability. But they're already saying I make too much money, so I don't know if it'd be a good idea for me to get more or not. Dwight says, mine has never done that before, but I already had to replace the LCD screen and made the video for Anycubic. I can't send the video through my email, so they are sending me more parts to fix the problem. Oh, that sucks. Knock wood, mine's working good so far. Now, my other one, that was the Creality, the Howlett one. The first one, the LCD screen went bad in it. And it would have cost more to replace the screen than to buy another machine. I kid you not. Because I bought mine on sale. I still have it. It needs a screen. But I bought a second one brand new, open box on eBay for $62. I swear it's never been used. And it works perfectly. So I got kind of a deal. Because the screen, I think, was $150 or something like that, or $160. It's ridiculous what they get for them things. But realistically, that's the heart of the machine, Lee says 1512. We're still the same. And he goes 1812 would be an overture. Yeah, it would. I don't have that, or I'd play it. Sorry, guys. And 2112 would be Rush. There you go, JD. I always liked that song too, or album. Oh, that was the album, wasn't it? I don't think they made a song with that. I haven't heard Rush in a while. I like Rush though; they're good. Hey, Tom Stranger Things. Hey, Tom, how's it going? He says, "Good evening, everyone." Was dozing off at the workbench. Well, you're not alone. I have that excuse more times than not. That's all a product of old age, whether you like it or not. We're all at that age. Dwight says, Anycubic, they gave you the screen, them bastards. It's probably I should have said something because my machine was fairly new. But what actually happened was, it wasn't their fault. It was my fault. The screensaver that goes over that, the protector, it leaked because my the FEP film breached, and it leaked out to that like overnight, and it went underneath the screensaver and down into the LCD screen and fucked it all up. I mean, it didn't even come out easy. I mean, it was literally like glued in, because the resin got in there. I had a hell of a time getting it out, and didn't come out in one piece either, by the way. So it was kind of my fault, and I didn't really expect them to pay for it, but I don't think it's right, though, that it costs as much as a new machine does. That's ridiculous. JD says we're now at 1813. Well, we're getting better, I guess. I don't know. Come on, guys, don't make me beg. Russ says, I am still going through SS disability application process. I am on the second appeal. So far, it has been 42 months since I started the process. This is with an attorney. Doesn't look good for me. I'll tell you, I had a friend. I won't go into great detail. I'm going to try and make it a short story. He had a massive heart attack. Okay? He was in his 50s. I think 52, 53, somewhere around there. He drove himself to the hospital. They don't even know how he made it. He got to the hospital and collapsed right there in the emergency room, and they did an emergency operation on him. They saved him. But he had a stroke while he was under anesthesia. No one knew it. Okay? Well, when he woke up the next day, or whenever he woke up, he discovered he couldn't read anymore. I know, it's very weird. I mean, this guy loved books, because I helped him move when he had to move out of his place, and he had that's why he had 2,000 or 3,000 paperback books, in one room. That was his book room. You read all these? Yeah, most of them. Holy shit, Anyway, hey, Georgia Sunbelt, good to see you, Anthony. Glad you're here. So anyway, he had the stroke. Well, nobody knew it. All right, but he knew something was wrong, so he went back to another doctor, and they did an MRI on him, and they do a scan of your head, and if you have brain damage, it turns black on the scan. Now, remember, I had a stroke. I have an area about this big around, about an inch in diameter, right up here, where the stroke did the damage to my brain. So I got lucky. I mean, I didn't really lose anything. I looked at his scan. It was the whole top of his head, And like I said, mostly, we seem to think, I've come up with this theory that which you love most in your life will be what's affected if you suffer any brain damage. Well, his passion was reading, okay? I'm not going to tell you what my passion is. But he couldn't read anymore. I mean, he said, because I said, well, what do you mean you can't read? He says, I open a book or look at a piece of paper with writing on it, and all I see is a jumbled mess. I can't recognize the letters. They don't look right. They're like messed up like Chinese or something. And that's fucked up. Well, and I said, you need to, well, this is before I knew him. He went and applied for disability. He hired somebody, the disability attorneys. And they fucked around. 2 years later, he got turned down in 2 attempts. So he fired the attorney. He got another one. So the second attorney, almost a year, well, we're doing the best we can. Well, turns out neither one of these attorneys ever showed the judge the scan, the MRI scan that showed the brain damage. That would have proved his case right there because, you walk in the courtroom and say, oh, what's your problem? Well, Your Honor, I can't read anymore. They're going, yeah, right, I mean, that would be your first thought, like, well, that's stupid. And how does that really affect your life? I mean, it does, but it doesn't. He could still work and all. Physically, he was in great shape. He got, bypass surgery they did on him, and because he was in rough shape. I mean, he should have died by all rights, but thanks to modern medicine, they were able to save him. But they had no idea he had the stroke. So I told him, I says, because he got turned down again with the second attorney. I said, look, go into there, ask to see the judge. Be respectable. Just ask to see the judge. Show him your fucking scan. Say, Your Honor, this is proof that I got serious brain damage. I know you don't really believe that I can't read and I can't prove it, but this is all the proof you need, which medically it was. Well, he did it. Boom, he gets his disability. I don't know what your case is, why you're disabled or how you're disabled, but don't trust the attorneys because listen, they're going to drag this out as long as they can because they're working on what do they call that? I can't think of the word now. Where they get a percentage. The longer it takes, the more money they get, and that's your money, you know. Because the second attorney tried to get my friend's money, you know, because he thought, well, I should get it because I'm your lawyer. Well, fuck you. You didn't do your job, so you ain't getting shit. And he didn't, you know. And then the first guys, they were professional disability lawyers. They tried to get money, and the judge said, no, you didn't do anything, you know. So they both the attorneys got fucked out of their cut out of it, and they should have anyway. But that's what they do. See, I was lucky when I was disabled. It affected my whole right side, the stroke, you know. So they actually had a machine where they could test, and they had this device you put in your hand. You had to squeeze it. Well, my left hand, I think I put something like 102 pounds of pressure that I could squeeze it. Right hand, about 16 ounces. I had no strength in it. I mean, it was fucked, you know. I mean, I couldn't even hardly. I had to actually hold the device with my other hand so I could squeeze it because it would fall out. And my leg was all fucked up. I couldn't walk right. They saw me walking in. They said, this guy's fucked, you know. So I got my disability with no questions asked. But mine was visible. And that made a difference too. Plus I had my scan. It wasn't big. It's like, Your Honor, see, I got brain damage. Not like you'd want to brag about that, but you know. So I would be leery of any lawyer you have. I don't care how professional they are, how much they brag about how they win cases. They're there to make money, and the longer they drag this out, the more money they make. Contingency, that's the word. They get a contingency fee. And the longer it takes, the more money they get, and that's your back pay. Generally, if it said you've been doing it for what, 42 months, you said? So you're going to get 42 months of back pay. That would go in your pocket if you're not represented with an attorney. If you got an attorney, he gets a third of that or even more, I think. That's money you should be getting. I mean, it's bullshit the way they do that anyway, but so look at your position. I could maybe even help you with some advice, but I'd have to know more about it. Because I'm really good with this shit, you know. And because I don't trust the lawyers. Lawyers are like doctors. They're there to make money. They don't give a fuck about you or your problems. They want your money. So they can't be trusted because of it. Tom says, a few years. First time no attorney, had to wait the required time. The second time was with attorney. Almost 4 years total. That's ridiculous, you know. Well, you're not wrong. But I didn't lose that passion, though. You know, still have big tits. I still like big tits, and you know, I won't settle for less. Tom says took a long time for back pay. Yeah, they do that because that's what it is. They're looking to make money. The longer it takes, the more they make. They don't give a fuck about your health or your well-being or whether you can still eat or not. You know, it's crazy. Russ says, I'm glad Debbie finally got it, Tom. I'm getting close to 4 years myself. That's what I said. You know, sometimes you gotta take this stuff in your own hands, you know. Or sometimes you just gotta, you know, threaten a lawyer too. You know, I've done that in the past, you know, lawyer, because I've had my share of legal woes over the years, you know, well, back when I was a teenager. And I didn't give a shit. You know, I'd get a lawyer, you're gonna do this my fucking way. I'm paying you. You don't tell me how you're gonna do it. I'm telling you how to do it, you know. They didn't like it. A couple of them dropped me because of it, but, you know. I mean, a lot of lawyers, when legal shit comes up, they will, you know, take the plea bargain. It's the quickest way out. They make their money. They don't have to work. You still get fucked, you know, if you're innocent. Why would you take a plea bargain? And I was always innocent, you know. So I'd tell you, look, I'm not taking the plea bargain. I want you to fight this. I want you to do this, this, and this. We'll win. We'll be fine. Well, you know what you're talking about. I said, I know exactly what I'm talking about, and this is how we're going to do it. And if you got a problem with that, I got two choices. You can either quit or break your fucking legs now. I swear to God, that's what I tell him. I didn't care. And, I had one, he already had a broken arm, and he was trying to fuck me over. And I said, listen, I don't know who broke your first arm. I'll break your other one if you fuck me around. You know, that changes mine real quick. Swear to God, man, I'm not lying. Uh, Real artist says I have suffered, according to my ex-wife, brain damage in the past. She called them hemorrhoids. Good one, real artist. I never had hemorrhoids. At least not, I don't think, anyway. But that wouldn't cause me brain damage, I'm pretty sure. But I get it, though. Once that had a curry, Mike, it's a nuclear pile. Yeah, piles. Yeah, I haven't heard them called piles in a long time. Yeah, like I said, I've been lucky. I never, I'm surprised because I drove truck for a number of years, and I sit on my ass a lot. And they say that when you do either one of those things, you're going to get hemorrhoids. But I guess I've just been lucky, sort of. Let's see here. Senior hemorrhoids. Not bad. Funny, though. Oh, it just jumped on me. So, yeah, like I said, I'm always leery of people that are in charge of shit. I don't trust or like doctors. I don't trust or like lawyers, even less. You know. And I'm not real thrilled with judges either, because I think they're full of shit, most of them as well. I mean, to some degree, I've been fairly lucky. I remember one judge, he hated me anyway, but I kind of threatened him in a non-direct way, and because I'd get in front of him. I always on these bullshit charges. Not saying I was an angel, but they never caught me for anything I actually did, which wasn't much. They tried to get me on other shit that I didn't do. Hey, Mr. Tedesco, are you back in my courtroom again? I'm really getting tired of seeing you here. I was like, well, I'm not here by choice, Your Honor. He wound up stepping down because he was crooked as shit anyway. And his own kid was like the biggest criminal in Naples at the time. And I used to go in there, how's your son doing, Your Honor? And he'd go, talk about my son, He'd get all pissy about it, but I got my point across, Don't fucking judge me when your own kid's 100 times worse, Chuck says, I had 2 hemorrhoids, 2 ex-wives. There you go. Are they pains in your ass, were they? I guess they could be. I'm glad I don't have them. I don't. Well, I got a cushion in the house. So it's not a hemorrhoid. It's not even near my asshole, but it's on my butt cheek, and it's from sitting and because I'm overweight. It's called a pressure wound. It's like a little pinhole. I know this is kind of weird to talk about, and it won't get better as long as I keep putting pressure on it. So he says, get you a donut, it's a memory foam donut, and sit on that. And it works. I mean, it made a difference. I know they use something similar for hemorrhoids. I think they used to use it was a blow-up ring, I believe, for hemorrhoids you had to sit on that took the pressure off your roids. It was a joke a long time ago. That's not hemorrhoids from the deep or some shit like that. I don't remember, but it was, I don't even remember how exactly it went, but it was fucked up. Over the hill senior? Okay. See, we can clear that up there. So, yeah, it's just, but I'm telling you, just don't trust anybody, man. If there's money to be made, there's going to be corruption. You can bank on that, Now, if they did this shit for free, I'd say, all right, maybe they're really looking out for you. But when they make more money to fuck you over, delay things, they're going to do it. And that's the problem. That's where our system is fucked up. Hey, Joe Rader, Black Rock Central, how you doing? Good to see you here. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing, Andy, I guess. They got a fancier term for it, but I can never remember it. But It's basically it's a pressure wound is what he called it, something like that. And yeah, this ring, it's memory foam, and it's yeah, I get it's like yeah, it prevents bed sores. I guess maybe that's what I got. I mean, I sit on my ass. I didn't think I sat on my ass that much, but you know, so I had to buy one. It was fucking thing was $40, but it does come in handy. Hey, Floyd Robbins, how you doing, Floyd? Good to see you. There you go. Let's change the conversation to diarrhea and airplanes. Uh, well, if you're on an airplane getting ready to crash, diarrhea won't be that much of an issue now, will it? And he says, don't fancy a dangleberry myself. I think that's a dingleberry is what you're thinking of. Never had those either. Anthony says, MRR, model railroading and hemorrhoids, great pair. Yeah, I guess they could go together too. Since you're sitting down a lot when you're working on your model railroad. At least I do anyway. Um, it is what it is, but what can I say, Yeah, that's another thing I don't get either. Women especially are worse for they don't like to talk about certain things, like shit or diarrhea, because I don't know why. I mean, yeah, it's kind of a weird subject to talk about, but most people experience it at one time in their life or another, one of these things. And it's not a big deal, And yet some women are just like, you can't talk about that. Why not? I don't give a shit. I will talk about anything, no matter how fucking weird it is, I just don't care, because nothing shocks me anymore. I guess I'm too jaded by life, right? Normal human functions. Exactly. That's what it is, And it's funny, we can make jokes about farting and sharting all day long, but you can't talk about diarrhea. Why? I mean, granted, one's more disgusting than the other, but still, Don't the girls use pile ointment to stretch their faces, vanishing cream? I don't know what the hell they use. Where are the trains? Well, I'm having issues with uncoupling with the one that I ran 2 weeks ago. I still haven't investigated and corrected the problem. I've got a dirty line on the second main line. Got dirty rails, and I can't get the loco to run the whole way around without stalling a dozen times. And a lot of it's just, not paying attention to maintenance probably. And at some point, yes, I will correct it and I will fix it. And we will have trains running again. And speaking of trains, let's see, you guys are probably tired of listening to half of this shit anyway. Oh damn it jumped on me again. There we go. Let's talk about penguin pussy. There we go. Penguins have pussies? I don't know. They might. Some gals don't like you to fart in front of them. Yeah, but they all do it. And that's why I said it's kind of funny, and they'll be, you gotta do that in front of me or while I'm here. And they go, well, you do it. It's different. No, it's the same. Yeah. Okay, cabooses. There you go. Chuck says, good one, Gerald. Yeah, I know. You're ready for the video. Dave says, for the record, it's way too early in the morning to talk about these types of things on the CRNE Morning Brew. I think in advance. That's true. I mean, here we could do it because it's late in the evening, but 9 o'clock in the morning probably should. Well, listen, enough of me yakking for a minute. I'm going to put this one on. This is interesting, and it's true. It's a true story, and it'll explain why we're having so many problems, not just in the railway industry, but also in other industries as well. So this is a 5-minute video. I'll let you listen to it, and we'll talk about it afterwards.
And now we turn back to our reporting on rail safety and a man who secretly recorded calls with his boss at Minnesota's largest railroad.
Those calls are proving crucial in a court verdict against Burlington Northern Santa Fe that could cost the railroad millions. 5 Investigates spent the last year reporting on safety issues on our railroads during a series of derailments here and around the country.
Tonight, investigative reporter Ryan Ray sits down with that former track inspector for the first time, whose recordings exposed new concerns at a time people are taking notice.
Diggs. Come here.
Despite how it all ended, Don Sanders misses his time on the railroad.
I actually made a difference in the job that I was in.
Sanders spent nearly a decade with Burlington Northern Santa Fe. Most of those years carrying these bags as a track inspector.
I haven't seen all this in a long time.
While stressful and challenging, Sanders loved it until he says he watched the railroad cut too many corners.
I get criticized for everything I do out here.
Why did you decide to start recording conversations with your supervisor?
For my own protection.
Those conversations uncovered by 5 Investigates as we reviewed court cases involving BNSF.
Why in the world would we ever call FRA about anything? Unless I'm absolutely blatantly telling you to break rules or don't do something.
In this call, Sanders' boss found out he called the Federal Railroad Administration.
They know the rule book better than anybody. Keith, have I ever called the FRA on you because you told me not to follow rules like you do all the time? No. Is that against the company rules? It's not good. I called them and asked them a question, Keith. I don't understand. I don't want you doing that.
That is automatically suspicious.
Our reporting now in front of a national audience after a series of recent derailments, including right here in Minnesota.
If you work at a restaurant and your boss tells you that under no circumstances should you ever call the health inspector, best case scenario, he is being ratatouilleed. But that's the best case.
It's being heard. What does that mean to you?
It kind of opens up other people's eyes that might be in another job, safety-driven career, as to be able to stand up and do something right.
BNSF previously told 5 Investigates simply it does not retaliate against employees. But Sanders' collection of recordings helped convince a federal jury that BNSF did in fact fire him in retaliation after reporting a series of track defects.
Is this like the measurements that are allowed on a certain defect?
Yeah.
His case also raised new questions about how bonus pay for managers is tied directly to defects. The fewer, the better.
So, in order to keep you from getting fired, I need to just look the other way.
No, we just need to have a conversation.
The jury initially awarded Sanders $9 million, but federal limits knocked it down to more than $2 million.
What was that like hearing that verdict from the jury?
That was probably the best thing I've heard in a long time, because that's pretty much what I wanted to clear my name, so it was very relieving. Yeah.
Sanders says the years-long fight with the railroad took a toll on his mental and physical health and tore apart his family.
It's Justin, Michaela, Courtney, and McLean. It meant more to me to show my kids that I did something right, because I was pretty depressed when I got fired, so yeah, it was great.
Great, but Sanders has not seen a dime, because the railroad is appealing his victory in court.
You stood up to the railroad.
Yeah.
That's not easy to do.
No. Most people are scared of the situation.
Were you?
As far as, yeah. I kept my notes. I wanted to make sure I was clean. So it's not easy to be able to stand up for what's right. I mean, I was hired to do a job, and I got disciplined for doing my job.
BNSF is still fighting that jury verdict now at the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals. The company touts a dramatic drop in defects in the Twin Cities, saying defect-related derailments are down 73% in the last 7 years. But we have asked multiple times for an interview about rail safety and the Sanders claims, but BNSF would not agree to one. So late last year, we went down to a national conference in Atlanta, in part to ask our questions of BNSF's representative in attendance. What's the public supposed to think when they hear these tapes, this damning audio of a supervisor saying, don't report a defect, it's going to affect my paycheck?
We encourage all of our employees to report things that are happening on our railroad. Is their job, as safety being the center of our culture and what we do.
That's a portion of our conversation with Janelle Davis, an executive public affairs director at BNSF in Texas and Oklahoma. And we had a lot more questions, and we'll have more of that coming up tomorrow at 6 o'clock.
Ryan Race with more on rail safety.
We'll see you then. Yep.
Thank you, Ryan.
That's fucked up, man. I like how they sidestep the questions, their PR girl there. Oh, no, we encourage people to tell the truth. We only fire them when they actually do it. I mean, she didn't say that, but she might as well have. But this is the problem. It's all about money, realistically, It's going to cost them money to repair defects and whatever. Hey, Messy Modeler, good for you, man. Good to see you here. Now, the next video you might be more impressed with. We'll be showing that in a few minutes. It's ridiculous what's going on, And this is the problem. They care about money more than they do about the safety of their passengers or the safety of their freight or anything. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. That's why what really needs to happen here is, if they allow something like that to happen, let's just go ahead and kill them. Death penalty, if you put money above human life, or even, well, actually it all affects human life, because, that one in, was it Ohio? Was it Ohio? I can't remember now, that where they had dumped the toxic fuels and all that shit. Or was that Tennessee? I don't remember, but the people responsible for that should have been charged with, crimes against humanity, I guess would be a good term. And they should be executed. And that's the only way that people are going to stop putting the almighty dollar in front of common sense and personal safety. And that's why we need to change some of the laws here in this country to make it real. It's like airplanes, If an airplane crashes because they didn't want to, spend extra money on a new bolt or something, then whoever's in charge of that, or in charge of making that decision, should get the death penalty. I mean, 200 souls that were on the plane died, and the CEO gets away with it? Bullshit. He should sacrifice his own life over it. That's just the right way of doing things. Because it wasn't always this way, but lately, we're seeing this in every aspect of society, Well, we don't care about safety anymore. We just got to save some money, It's bullshit. East Palestine, yeah, it was Ohio, okay. I couldn't remember. Thanks, Dave, for reminding me of that. Well, no, it never will be cleaned up, because basically the damage has already been done. It's almost irreparable, And they got a fine. Big fucking deal. They don't give a shit. They'll just raise their prices on the goods they move, and they'll make that money back in no time. You know it, I know it, we all know it, That's not a proper punishment. It really isn't. Andy says, I didn't have any of that. British Telecom was, what the hell was that? We're shit hot with safety. Well, there you go. He says, if I opened my mouth, it got sorted and quick. Well, that's the way it should be. I mean, that's what you guys are hired for, to make sure shit don't happen. And then they tell you to shut the fuck up and mind your own business so they could save a buck. And like this guy, in fact, he was behind the 8 ball no matter what. If he had shut his mouth, eventually they would have pointed to him and said, well, this is your fault for not doing your job, And they would have levied him with fines, possible jail time. Meanwhile, the people that are really responsible walk away scot-free. So he does stand up and say something. They shit can him anyway. So he lost no matter what, but at least this way, he kept his reputation intact. So nobody can say, well, this is your fault this shit happened. And personally, I think people like that should get better protection within the companies. Because as JD pointed out, somebody will get on a live real quick that way. And it could happen because, you know, your life isn't worth as much as, you know, maybe $10-15 million that you might stand to lose in fines or whatever. Which is pretty fucking pathetic, but that's the way it is, you know. Oh, you're absolutely right, Dave. I mean, it's I wouldn't want to live anywhere near. They say it's all the water tables are contaminated. I mean, the animals are suffering, the people are having problems, and all because Norfolk Southern wouldn't, you know, spend a little extra money on greasing a bearing or replacing a bearing. Because wasn't it bearing failure on one of the wheels that caused it? I mean, it's just fucking stupid, you know. So probably if it had cost $5,000, which probably it wouldn't have. Let's say it did. $5,000 was, you know, too much to spend for personal safety and the well-being of an entire environmental area, people's lives and animal lives. That's what I'm saying. The people responsible for that lack of maintenance, whoever gave the order to not spend the money, give them a lifetime in prison or just fucking hang them, you know. Hey, Trade Man 1, Mickey, how's it going? I swear to you, I'm innocent. I'm telling you, I'm totally innocent. That's what they all say. But in your case, I believe you. Let's see. Russ says, anytime you offer managers bonuses for not reporting stuff, that's true. Remember when Wells Fargo gave their employees bonuses for getting people up? Yeah, I remember. I saw it in the golf course when I worked there, you know. There was all kinds of incentives to basically shut your fucking mouth and not cause any issues or spend extra money if you didn't really need to, you know, even though it was better for the course. And that's what they did. They gave bonuses for it, you know. And that's one of the reasons why I got canned in the end, because they wanted me to take a pay cut so they could give that extra money to my superior, because he made some claim that he deserved more money than everybody. And I told him, oh, fuck yourself, you know. You want to give more money, take it out of your pocket, not out of mine, you know. I'm not taking a pay cut. I wouldn't. So they just fucking fired me anyway. Russ says yeah, hundreds of fake. I know. Hey, Gigliotti, how you doing? Ray, right? I think. Good to see you here, man. Did you buy that printer yet? And he said the health and safety inspectors were all ex-police and had the power to jail you first and ask questions. Yeah, there you go. That's what we need here, you know. Quit fucking around with these people and just, you know, look, you know, screw around. I'll lock your ass up and forget about you for a while. And Dave goes, no Greta Thunberg there to protest the climate change. Funny how that is. Yeah, well, she's done anyway. I mean, she ran her fucking distance and that's it. I mean, I think, well, she got arrested, I think 7 or 8 times for engaging in violent protest or some shit like that. And maybe she finally figured out this is stupid. And, you know, maybe they finally told her, look, we're going to lock you up for the rest of your life if you don't knock this shit off, you know. Because she's been real quiet lately, hasn't she? Maybe somebody finally fucked her, and, you know, which is what she needed anyway. Yeah. Just my opinion. Not yet. Oh, you'll get to it at some point. Hey, look around for sales, because they go on sale a lot. Both the Creality and the Anycubic do. And they said that Creality is a good machine. I believe... damn it. I'm bad with names lately. I must be losing my mind. Maybe I'm getting too much vitamin D. Dwight Curley, he's got one. He's got the Ender 3, I believe. And he's had good luck with it. I mean, they're supposedly good machines. You know, we don't have alligators up here, I don't think. I've never seen one. Now, back in Naples, they were everywhere. I never chased one out of my yard, but I used to see them on some of the back roads going toward the Everglades and shit. And we actually had them in the lakes. at the golf course I worked at. You had to be careful because, you know, they were getting pretty used to humans and they had no fear of them anymore. And God help you if you walked a little dog near the lake, they come up and snatch your dog right off its leash. And it happened a couple of times, you know. It seems like no matter how many times you tell people, don't bring your dog near the fucking lake, they just don't get it for some reason. Yeah, Russ, that's true. Don't hire somebody if you're not going to let them do their job. Bottom line. Well, the thing is, they figure everybody can be, you know, hushed up a little bit because, or they think you're just, you know, not paying attention. I mean, I knew guys like that on the job that was quality control people, and they would just get to a point where I'm just not going to worry about it anymore. They don't do anything anyway, so fuck it. Just push it right through, you know. See, I couldn't do that. If I had a job like that, a position, I'm going to be a real asshole, man. It's like, that's not going to work. Set it back. Yeah. I'm sure I'd be fired pretty damn quickly. Dave says he likes his Creality one. Well, you've got a resin printer. We're talking about filament printers, but yeah, they're all good printers though. The Creality makes a good printer, and I think Anycubic does as well. I know there's some other brands out there that people swear by, but I have no experience with them, so I can't recommend them. And he said Stevie Wonder, presumably she's homely. I'm not sure the reference to that. I know he's blind, but that's it. How dare you? DWM Trades, Dave, how you going? How's it going, man? Good to see you here. Yeah, that's what's her face's favorite line. You guys ever watch fuck, what the hell's the name of that show? Can't remember now. I watch it all the time. He does Mondays. Actually, he's doing 5 days a week now. I can't even remember his fucking name. Anyway, he does memes. And he always has people come. He puts clips in there, and she's one of the clips, you know, where she does a "How dare you," and you know, because it's part of his meme. And he's got other ones. He's got the oh shit, I'm losing my mind here, man. It'll come to me. Johnny B. That's who it is. Johnny B. Something Friday. I can't remember what it is now. Anyway, check it out. It's on YouTube. Guy's funny as shit, man. He does great memes. And he has people that interject in there. It's just kind of funny. But yeah, he's always got her clip there. How dare you? Yeah, Russ says be right back. All right, we'll be right here, hopefully. Dave says Dwight was saying this morning that he had a part sent to him for his printer. I think, yeah, he did. I mean, they break. You know, everything breaks. Even my Anycubic Viper, I've replaced so far 4 hot ends. Now remember, I put a lot of hours on my machine, and that's just the way it goes. I had a Z belt go bad on the older one. I had a spare air, which was cool, so I was able to put that in. And I had the power cable went bad on the old one. And I had to repair that because they kept dicking me around with sending me another one. And they kept saying, well, we don't make them anymore. Now they really don't, because they discontinued the Viper series. Anycubic only makes the Cobra now. And it's not the same. The good news is I figured out how to make my own cables if I need to. And I've got the ends and stuff for it to do it, so I should be okay for a while with that. Because the ribbon cable is easy to buy. You can buy that in bulk. And it doesn't matter whether it's more wires than what you need. You just separate the ones you don't need. I think mine's a 9-wire. So if they make a 12-wire, I'll buy a 12-wire, 10-foot of it. Pull the extra wires off, make it a 9-wire or 7-wire, whatever it is. And I've got my ends that clip right on. And boom, there you go. I got a homemade cable. So I found a way around that, you know. But things do go bad. It's going to happen. It just does, you know. Anthony says, saw a little dog get snatched when I lived in Jupiter, Florida. Yeah, it happens more often now. Well, that's what I think happened to my little Roxy. She was old and she was kind of dying anyway. Well, one of two things happened. Either she ran off and died because she knew it was her time. She was 17 years old, basically blind, mostly deaf, or no, completely deaf, mostly blind, you know. And I wanted to have her put down, but I couldn't afford it. So she was incontinent, so I tried to keep her outdoors during the day more than inside because she'd shit and piss everywhere, and then I have to clean it up. And thank God I don't have any carpets, but so she would stay on the front porch. You know, she never left. Well, let her out, this about a month ago, and I wasn't paying much attention, which I should have been. And then I looked around, I couldn't find her. I mean, I tore this whole area apart looking for her. Well, she's a little dog. She can't really run, so she's not going to go far. We have a hawk here, and I think the hawk might have got her, because she was small and frail enough to where a hawk could have easily picked her up and took her somewhere. Because, I mean, we have vultures here, and I never saw any vultures around either looking for, what was ever left. So if the hawk did get her, which I'm pretty sure it did, it probably took her a long ways away, which really sucked. I feel bad because, I've had the dog since she was a pup. But, and I worry about Pogo because he's a small dog. He's not old. And I think if the hawk tried to get him, he'd put up a hell of a fight. But, I don't know if I can get my gun and be good enough aim to actually shoot a bird out of the sky without hurting the dog, too. But I would probably try. And then again, too, I think he's about 26 pounds. That hawk's pretty big, but that's a lot of weight to pick up. So, and then of course, like I said, he's not going to go easily. He's going to fight it. So, but I keep an eye on him when he's out in the yard either way, because, if I see that hawk around, I'll probably wind up killing that motherfucker. Solve that problem. Yeah. Russ says, I personally have to be, well, that's true, too. That's what I said. I mean, to some degree, I'm a pretty honest person. And if you put me in charge of something, especially quality control or something, I'm going to do my job because that's what you hired me for, and I take pride in my ability to do my job properly. That's just the way it is, Greta. I know, she's not really a very pretty woman, though, but you ever see, she got a nice rack on her, though. And you don't always see it because the clothing she wears, but I think somebody got a picture of her in a bikini. Got a nice body, man. Like I said, the face, not so much, but nice body. Stevie made a song. Isn't she lonely? Okay, now I get the reference. Oh, there you go. Andy liked that one. James says, I am not getting a printer yet. Well, you will eventually. I mean, the way things are going price-wise, you're gonna find it's gonna be so much cheaper and easier. Just start printing your own stuff, And you're ready. I mean, you're a carpenter. You've got the skills to do it. If you can make wood projects, and I know you can because I've seen your work, you can easily convert over to 3D printing. It's a very similar, type of job thing, Anthony, I think Stevie wrote that for Rachel Zegler. Oh man, is that bad or what, man? You hear that shit? Fucking Disney. They won't admit it, but this one guy was listening to, he's saying, he says, by my reckoning, they lost $400 million on that Snow White movie because it tanked so bad. Disney's playing it down to where they only lost like 200 million, but he says, if you do the math and you know how everything works, he says easily 400 million, and they haven't even hit bottom yet, but they will. And I'd say, it applies to her too, absolutely. I mean, what the hell's wrong with these people? First off, Snow White was not a Hispanic, I don't have a problem with Hispanics, but they should have called her something different. Like maybe, brown mud or something. I don't know. Yeah. But Snow White was a white girl, damn it. And I'm not being racist here. I'm just saying, look, I have no problem with putting minorities in feature films, similar to that, but let's make the storyline specifically for that person, you know. And one of my neighbors says, he says, let me tell you something. He says, and I'm not downgrading blacks or anything, but he says, if white men did a version of Roots, but all white, the blacks would have a fucking cow over it. And he's right, because it would be wrong, And we don't do that. I mean, that was a black thing. It was about slavery and how shit was back in the day. And it was actually a very good movie. I saw it. Miniseries. And they should do the same thing with whites. I mean, there's a lot of the old fairy tales are based on white people, Is it racist? No. But it's just the way it was told, because most of the stuff originated in Europe. Europe was predominantly white. Snow White, some of the other ones. I can't even think of half of them now, but most of those fairy tales were based around white characters. Now, if the blacks or the Hispanics want to make a similar movie, change the name and the storyline a little bit, way to go, more power to you. I got no issue with that. But you can't take a story like Snow White, put a Hispanic woman in there to pretend she's Snow White, and half of your dwarfs are over 7 foot tall. They're not dwarfs anymore. And they're all different nationalities or races, because the original dwarfs were all, white, and they were all, 2 foot tall. That's why they call them dwarfs. You can't have a 7 foot tall dwarf. It doesn't work out well. So it's no wonder the movie tanked, because it was stupid. Even when they did the mermaid movie, what was that one? The Little Mermaid? The original one had a white girl. The mermaid was a white girl. Well, the new one was a black girl. Not a problem because she was black, but Ariel was white. Let's have a different girl that's black and a slightly different storyline. Same concept, but different scenes and stuff, And they can make it their own. And I'd be okay. I mean, I like a lot of black girls. Like I said, I talk about this a lot. There was a TV show called Black Lightning. It was probably about 7 or 8 years ago. And it was about a black superhero. And his superpower was being able to throw bolts of lightning and electricity and shit. It was cool. It was different. Because no white superhero could do that, And I thought, and I watched it. I thought it was a great series. They, unfortunately, I think they canceled it after 2 seasons. But I thought it was excellent. Mostly black characters because, it was a black-oriented flick. But I thought it was great. And I said, I'm not racist. I have no problem with blacks. But they did the right thing. Let's come up with a black superhero that nobody's heard of before, that has a superpower that nobody else has. It was brilliant. Why can't they do that with Snow White or the Little Mermaid? I mean, I don't know what they'd call it. Think of something, for Christ's sake. It can't be that hard. These people are supposed to be, Oh, here we go. Charles said she was dirty Snow White. There you go. Dave said, I think you guys got ahead of me. Let me back up a little bit, see what the hell I missed. Oh, Walt will be turning. Oh, yeah, I'm sure he did. Although he was a dirty bastard, too. I don't know if I ever told you, my parents actually knew him. I met him when I was a little kid. I don't know what the fuck he was doing in New Jersey. But somehow or another, my family knew him, and he actually had dinner with us one night. I swear to God, I'm not lying. And he was perfect. He knew a lot of dirty jokes, not like totally bizarre dirty jokes, but stupid dirty jokes, And I remember a couple of them vaguely, but I won't repeat them because I'd probably screw them up. But he was, I wouldn't call him a pervert, but he wasn't what they made him out to be. Let's put it that way, He wasn't that squeaky clean white guy that, godly and all that, because he really wasn't, you know. But he was a funny guy. I liked him. I don't know if he turned something different later in life, because that was what, 40 some years ago. And because I was what, about, I was about 7 or 8 years old at the time. But my dad made a big thing. He said, "We're having Walt Disney over here for dinner," and I'm going, "You mean the real Walt Disney?" He said, "Yeah." "How do you know him?" He said, "Oh, I don't remember how we met him, but," and I don't know the whole story and how he wound up having dinner with us, but swear to God, he actually did have dinner with us. Let's see, the problem we have up here is with coyotes attacking. Yeah, that's a problem too. Anything, well, I mean, dogs are always at risk, especially if they're smaller dogs. Anthony said, saw a hawk take a rabbit out of my, yeah. And the worst part, they'd take them up high and they drop them. Hit the ground, of course, they die, and then the hawk generally rips their head off and eats their brain. Yeah, I can't make this shit up. But that's nature, man. That's the way it works. And JD says, when I was in the Air Force and put a red X on the forms, the jet was not worthy of flying. There you go. And JD reports 2319. Come on, guys, hit the fucking button. It's not hard, please. Yeah. Dave says, nah, they'd be making total fun of how stupid it was. LOL. Call it crackers and change. Oh, if they did a white roots, yeah, probably. I don't know, but it would be. I said, just, it wouldn't be right, because, I realize some whites were slaves. Maybe not here in America, but I know in Europe they were. Especially like in Roman times and stuff. They didn't give a fuck who you were. If you weren't royalty, you were probably going to be somebody's slave, People were bought and sold, and that's just the way it was. But, and we could do that. I mean, we have done that, but we didn't call it roots, because that would be fucking weird. That's strictly a black thing, man. Like I said, I just don't understand why they can't do it. And Dave says, Gerald, I think I saw that movie Pornhub special. You never know. Oh, should have jumped on me again. Floyd says, you saw that one too, Dave? Georgia said, never heard of that, Jim. That's true, though. And he said the copyright running out on Snow White, they had to remake to keep them. Yeah, I guess that would make sense, but there had to be variations of the story where you still kept the characters correct. I mean, they had basically, I haven't watched it, so I don't know. I mean, I haven't had a chance to. If I get it, I may watch it just for shits and giggles. But you had the main character, Snow White, is a Hispanic woman. All right. There's 7 dwarves, but like 3 of them are over 6 foot tall or more. And they're all different races. So there's blacks, there's Latinos, there's whites, probably a couple of Chinese. I don't know. And this is what I heard. I don't know how true any of it is, but but it's no wonder it tanked. I thought she looked familiar. Well, that Zegler woman, she was the evil queen, I believe. And I was actually watching a video this morning. They were saying that both the Snow White and the evil queen Zegler, or whoever the fuck, I can't remember who's who, but no, the evil queen was the other woman. I can't remember her name now, but Gal Gadot, that's who it was. Gal Gadot and what's her face, Zegler. They hate each other. Okay. Even when they went to see the premiere of Snow White, they sat 4 rows apart. Even though Disney's trying to play it down, saying, oh, they really like each other. Well, witnesses said no, they actually hate each other. And Zegler was known for publicly putting down Gal Gadot. Now, for the record, Gal Gadot, which is a stupid fucking name, she's a lesbian, okay? Not bad looking. She did a hell of a Wonder Woman, but still a fucking dyke. I mean, how you look at it. And once again, They can't put normal people in anymore. Oh, we got to have lesbians, we got to have gays, we got to have transgenders, we got to have, you know, this, that, and everything else, but we can't have a straight white person anymore. Why not? I mean, it's ridiculous. That was actually a good movie, Dave. I saw that, The Wiz with Michael Jackson. It was different, okay? But it was cool because it was similar, but it wasn't the same. And they put the black spin on it, you know. And I thought it was a well-done movie. I mean, I didn't have an issue with it, you know. But if they, like, did something completely weird and it was the exact same storyline, because it wasn't, but if they did the same storyline but with characters that shouldn't be there, it would have been a disaster, you know. Like I said, I have no problem with, you know, you can remake something and make it better, or you can remake something and just make it stupid. Yeah. Now, another one is my favorite is Battlestar Galactica. I don't know how many of you guys remember the original TV series. It was kind of a comedy, you know, had Lauren Green in it, and I can't remember the other guys, but it was not bad. I mean, it was, you know, it was like a B movie type thing, but a series. And then somebody came along and got serious, and they did the newest Battlestar Galactica, which was like a 3-season miniseries or something, and did a beautiful job on it, you know. Now, at first, I was kind of pissed off because one of the lead actors, it was, shit, the hell's her name? His name, rather. Well, originally it was a guy, and they put the woman in instead. I thought that was kind of a mistake, but they did kind of write it in to where it made sense. You know, Starbuck, I think it was. Yeah, Starbuck. Starbuck was originally a man, but they put the woman in place, and it kind of. I mean, I don't think they should have, but it worked. But that was a good series. I mean, they did a perfect remake. Now, I understand they want to do a third remake that's going to have a slightly different storyline. I guess it'll investigate some of the aspects of the show that it didn't cover back in the day. So it'll be similar, but not quite, with a completely new cast. I don't know how that's going to work. I mean, sometimes, you know, if you do a remake and it comes out really great, just fucking leave it alone. You know, we're done with it. It's like, what's that other sci-fi show that was on TV? Damn it, I used to watch that too. Babylon 5. That was one. I think that's still one of the greatest series ever made. Okay. They're supposedly they're in the process of remaking it. It'll basically be the same storyline but with different characters. I'm not in total agreement with that. Okay. Once again, you got a perfect fucking series. Leave it the fuck alone. Come up with something new. You know. Now, in the original series, I think there were originally 5 Babylon stations. Why can't they do a series on, say, maybe Babylon 2 or Babylon 3 or 4 or even 1? You know, completely different deal, different storyline, different characters, obviously. And that would be cool if they used the same professionalism in the way they did the first one. Will they do that? Of course not, because they're fucking assholes. And that's why I said I have a problem with that. Yeah, Tom's got it right. He says there's no creativity any longer. All they know is to redo old movie shows. That's true. And as I said, there's so many shows that are remakes, some that I'd never heard of that were, you know, originally made in the 30s and the 40s. And they remake them, and it's like, oh, that's kind of a cool storyline, but then I find out they made it way back when, black and white, and it's the same fucking storyline, just different characters. Well, that's bullshit, you know. I mean, I know the thinking, because they figure, well, those people that saw the original are probably dead, so we can introduce the same story, but a more modern version for today's generation, and they'll like it as much as they did the old generation did. That may be true. But it does show a lack of creativity. And I'm thinking, did Hollywood lose their creativity? They forget how to make a fucking original TV show or movie? Seems like it. You know. I mean, there's some good shows out there, but and even some good movies, but there's more. I'm seeing more remakes than I am original stuff. Personally, I think it's bullshit. You know. Anthony says, "Dang, Dave, you remember that? I was trying to think of that movie. Yeah, there you go." Rick says, "Hey, Rick's Trains. How you doing, Rick? Good to see you." Battlestar Galactica was good. I said the original was good. I mean, in a way, I liked it. But the newest series I thought was excellent because it did something the original did. Because back in the day, they would cancel a TV show and that was it. You know, they left you hanging. Well, what happened? Did they ever find Earth? Or what the fuck happened? Well, this time they started from scratch, from the beginning, and worked their way down, and they actually had a completion to it. And the storyline was absolutely brilliant of the latest Battlestar Galactica. I thought it was great. Russ says, time for dental implants. Great, man. There you go. There's some E2, Rick. No, they were great shows, man. Oh, Serenity as well. Serenity was another. And they're trying to redo that one. And I don't know if they're going to be able to, because I don't think they can get the original cast members. I know they were trying. I think one of them died already. Was it the black guy? Yeah, I think it was the black guy. He was the one that played in, that one sitcom, but I think he's dead. That was the preacher in Serenity, I think. I don't remember his name. But if they could bring it back and kind of pick up where it left off, that would be excellent. Like I said, I love that show, but what was it, only a season and a half, something like that? I mean, they really did. They fucked them guys over big time, That's true, Dave. They really were mishandled and underrated, And like I said, they're trying to bring them both back, but, and the star of the original Babylon 5, I can't remember his name now either, but he was like the perfect guy for that. I think he's still alive, but he's like 90 fucking years old. They can't bring him back, and I think Ivanova, she died, I think. And I think the other guy, the bald-headed guy, I think he's dead too. So a lot of the original actors aren't even alive anymore. So that kind of sucks. I mean, you could probably find suitable replacements, but it really won't be the same. Buck Rogers, yeah, I like Buck Rogers too. If you old guys, I'm sure you remember the original series, remember? The old black and white ones with the stupid ships hanging off strings. I mean, it was really corny as shit, but I remember watching it as a kid, And I actually recently, but last year, I got a hold of some of the original shows and got to watch them again. And you watch them the second time, it's like, we actually like this. But I mean, it was cool for the time. And of course, the latest series, Buck Rogers in 25th Century, I saw the original movie in the theaters. When that came out, I said, oh, we got to go see that, And I was never a big theater person, but certain shows, like Star Wars, the first one, we went to the theater for that one too. I was still with my ex-wife. We went twice because we stood in the line for like 4 hours the first time, and they sold out. We had to come back the next night and stand in line again for like another 2 or 3 hours. But, at the time, that was like, oh, we got to see this, Plus, they really hyped the shit out of it. And that's probably what actually got it killed, right? They had some hot babes in there, I'll tell you what. It says gaytivity. Oh, well, yeah, there you go. That jumped on me again. Here we go. James says, I'm watching old Elvis Presley movies. Now you sound like my wife. I think she has a crush on Elvis. I was never a big fan of his. I mean, he's talented without a doubt, but maybe it's just some jealousy or something. I don't know, but you know, I've seen some of his movies. Some of his movies were pretty good, you know, back in the day. But there's another guy though that didn't know when to quit. You know, when he made his comeback tour, and he was like, you know, 50 pounds overweight, and you know, I don't know if he really did die or not. I mean, some say he faked it to bow out of the limelight. I don't know if that's true or not, because there's still people that swear up and down they've seen him. But you know, I mean, his time in the limelight was done. That was it. And I think he'd have been better off if he didn't try and do the comeback tour. You know, just let it go and live on the memories. All right, Floyd, well, have a good one, man. Thanks for popping in, and we'll see you later, man. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week. I know, James, you got another channel to watch, so you have a good night too, man, and a good weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for popping in. That's bad, Andy. The Chinese copied Elvis Jailhouse Walk. Good one, though. Yeah, that's it. Bruce Boxleitner. I'll tell you, I like that guy, you know. I mean, I don't generally get excited about movie stars, you know, but I don't know. There's something about him, man, that just, he was like the perfect person for that role. You know, and he wasn't the original. I mean, there was a guy before him, I can't remember who it was, and he replaced that guy. I think they killed him off or something, the original one, but he was the perfect star for that show. He really was. Like I said, he's I think he's in his 90s now. He was in a TV show or a movie recently, and it's like, man, the dude ain't looking too good, you know. But he's really old. Dave says, I'm more of a Duck Dodgers kind of guy. There you go, Duck Dodgers. I remember him. Russ says, Planet of the Apes movies. Well, I haven't seen the newest ones yet. I remember the original ones. We saw the original ones in the theaters. I was back in the 60s. And I think we saw the first three. Planet of the Apes, Return of the Planet of the Apes, and was it Revenge of the Planet of the Apes or something like that? I don't remember. But we saw three in the outdoor drive-ins, believe it or not. And I thought they were cool at the time, but I guess the newest version, the remakes, are supposed to be even better. One of these days, I've got them. I have copies. I just haven't watched them yet. I'll have to check them out. Rick said he liked Planet of the Apes, too. Like I said, he said he hadn't seen it either. Like he said, sometimes they do good, you know. And then sometimes they should just leave it the fuck alone, you know. Now, here's another example. Now, Star Trek, remember the old TOS, the original series? That was a great show back in. I watched it as a kid. My dad used to watch it. Matter of fact, it came on, I think, at 9 o'clock at night, and my bedtime was 8, and we were allowed to stay up just to watch Star Trek on that one night. Because my dad just, man, he loved Star Trek. I mean, and you wouldn't think he was really into that sort of thing, but I guess he was. And, of course, the newest one, Star Trek, I can't remember what it is now. Star Trek something or another. It's got Christopher Pike, the original captain of the Enterprise. He reprised his role before everything went to shit, before Kirk took over. That actually worked out pretty good. You know, you got a young Mr. Spock, and the storyline works out great. It's a prequel, and I'm not a big fan of prequels, but this one actually worked out. So, you know, because I know they've done several versions of Star Trek based on the original series. You know, they've had, 3 or 4 different Captain Kirks, 3 or 4 different Spocks, you know, and it just ain't the same. I mean, I watched them. They were okay, but it wasn't the same, you know. I mean, they will never find another William Shatner. I mean, they just won't, you know. The guy always paused on everything he said, you know. And I can't duplicate it, but you know how he talked, and it was like, that was his trademark, you know. And it's like, he wasn't really a good actor, but he was perfect for the part, you know. So, you know. Oh, Claudia Christian, yeah. And Peter Jurassic. Oh, they're the only two that are still alive? That's possible. Well, I'm pretty sure Boxleitner, isn't he still alive? He might have died. I don't know. She was good too. She was a perfect person in that. And Peter Jurassic, he was the alien, wasn't he? The one that looked like Napoleon or something. He was a weird motherfucker. I think that was him anyway. Andy said, I gave up Scouts to watch Star Trek. There you go. Rick says, the Borg were my favorite character in the newer Star Trek. I watched that one with Picard in there. It wasn't bad, you know. But it still wasn't the same as the original. I mean, like I said, it wasn't bad. And the fact that they had, you know, the Borg was definitely weird, you know. But a perfect character to tie into it. So, yeah, it did okay, you know. And they're talking about bringing him back, Picard, now I can't remember his real name, to do another Star Trek based on that series. But like later on, maybe, I'm not sure, maybe a prequel, who the hell knows. Because he's getting up there in age too, so, you know, but like I said, I don't know. Are you fucking serious? Shatner voted for, well, I wouldn't doubt it, you know, because a lot of them actors are idiots anyway, you know. It's like Schwarzenegger, Arnold Schwarzenegger. My sister had the biggest crush on him. I'll tell you a funny story. This is true. Many, many years ago, about the time that Schwarzenegger really started getting famous and actually learned enough English to have a real dialogue in any movie. My younger sister, Noreen, she's 5 years younger than me. She had the biggest crush on him. Well, I was dealing with a motor repair shop in Naples. And this guy didn't look like Schwarzenegger, but he sounded exactly like him. Same nationality, you know, he's Austrian. And he's you need to replace this part of the motor. He talked just like Schwarzenegger. I said, dude, I want to play a practical joke on my sister, but I need your help. He said, what do you want? I said, I'm going to give you a phone number. I want you to call her and pretend you're Arnold Schwarzenegger because she's got like the biggest crush on him. And you sound exactly like him, you know. You just, you know, say, hey, you know, I heard that you really like me and I just wanted to let you know that I'm aware of it. I'm married. I can't have nothing to do with you, but that's really cool that you have a crush on me. Something to that effect. Well, he fucking did it. Cost me $50, but it was worth it. So my fucking sister calls me a few days later. She goes, you're not going to believe this. I said, what? Arnold Schwarzenegger called me. I said, I'll get out of here. He didn't call you. No, he did, really. I'm telling you. I don't know how he knew I had a crush on him, but somehow he found out and he called me and acknowledged it. I said, what, are you going to go out with him? He said, no. He said, he's married. He can't have nothing to do with me. But it's really cool, you know. I'm thinking of I never told her. To this day, she still thinks Arnold called her. It's like the ultimate prank, you know. I hope she never finds out. She's really mad at me. But it was the coolest thing. I mean, the guy, he was a dead ringer for Schwarzenegger's voice. Didn't look nothing like him, you know. He was big, but he didn't look anything like Schwarzenegger, you know. Coolest thing. And never meet your heroes. That's probably true, you know. What was that movie that had the big mining operation on Mars where everybody went crazy? Oh, was it Total Recall? Might have been. I know there's been so many movies that have happened on Mars. Well, Schwarzenegger played in Total Recall, too. So, and I thought he was one of the greatest fucking, you know, when he did the Terminator movies, and he did quite a few movies. I mean, guys kick ass, you know. And I thought, man, I'd love to, you know, be like him a little bit, you know. And I find out he's anti-gun, even though every show he ever played in, practically, he's handing a gun, right? He's anti-gun. He's pro-Democrat. He actually is a Democrat, or I think he is. Or needs to be. And he's a jackass. And I'm thinking, and that goes right back to what Andy just said, you know. Never meet your heroes. That's true. I don't know if she's watching or not. I don't think she watches my show. And if she does, I'm sorry, Noreen. I couldn't help myself. You know. Yeah, he was good in Predator too, Anthony, without a doubt. I said he's a hell of an actor. But as an actual civilian, he's a jackass, you know. And unfortunately, a lot of them guys are. Yeah, I did too, Russ. You know, like I said, back in the day, the theaters weren't that expensive. I think it was like $6 for an adult ticket. We never bought the popcorn or anything because they were always expensive, but we used to sneak our own shit in. But then, you know, when they got up to $12, $15, $16 a ticket, fuck that, you know. And then you couldn't smoke. And back when I used to go, you could smoke in the theater in the center section, because you weren't allowed to smoke in the ends because the curtains were there. And I thought that's kind of stupid because in the middle, your smoke is actually interfering with the movie a little bit, you know. I didn't really smoke in them, but I could if I wanted. Back in the good old days. Yeah, Commando was pretty good. I said, he did a lot of great movies. I mean, even the stupid movies he did, was that Kindergarten Cop? That was kind of fucked up, but it was funny, you know. And what was that, Twins? Where he worked, where he was supposedly Danny DeVito's twin. And like, you know, get the little guy here and ain't no fucking way they could have been twins, you know. But they were funny movies, you know. Like I said, by that point he got a grad, because they said when he did the first, what was the first one he did? Conan the Barbarian. He couldn't speak English, hardly. They actually had to coach him to say the few words that he did, you know, throughout the movie because he did have no grasp of English. And I tell you, that was a serious fucking movie too, Conan the Barbarian, if you ever seen it. You know, I think that was his first U.S. movie. But like I said, at some point he did learn English, and well, he became the damn governor of California. And what did he do for California? About as much as Newsom's done. You know, I mean, he wanted to do things, they wouldn't let him. And of course, he was married to a Kennedy, and that fucking, she was ugly if you ask me. I mean, she looked like a beanpole. You know, she looked like Skeletor's distant cousin. Yeah, I think I saw that in the theater. I saw the first three in the theater. Empire Strikes Back, Star Wars. What was the other one? Fuck, I can't remember now, but I saw three of them in the theater. The Star Wars was the toughest one though, because like I said, they had hyped it so much, and it was literally. I mean, there were some places where it would take you a week to get into the theater. The lines would be like a mile long, you know. And I'm not really good at waiting in line, but I was willing to for that movie. Yeah, he was a rhino without a doubt, Dave. Like I say, he was Republican. He ran as a Republican, but he might as well have been a Democrat. You know, he said he was a rhino. But, and the few things that he tried to do, they fought him on it, and he got overruled anyway. Which, you know, there's no way a Republican governor is going to succeed in California unless you change the whole damn legislature. You'd have to get real Republicans in both houses of the legislature and a Republican governor in there to actually affect any real change. And then again, you're probably still going to make a shitload of enemies because, you know, Californians, as a rule, the Democrats anyway, are fucking stupid. You know, and you can't fix stupid. Well, you can, but it ain't legal. Actually, I got a shirt that says on the back, I can fix stupid, but it's gonna hurt. Pretty real, you know, it's reality, I guess, when you get down to it. So, yeah, it's, yeah, we talk about all these weird shit, you know, as I was saying, it's a little crazy, you know. All right, I'm gonna knock off at 8:30, so we got 19 minutes. I don't want to be out here all night, you know. Wife's sitting in the hospital, waiting for her daughter to give birth to her third baby. And it's a little complicated. So they've had to induce labor, and it's taking forever. And so hopefully she has the baby tonight, but I don't think so. Probably be tomorrow at some point. So my wife's up there in Michigan babysitting her daughter. Because her daughter wants her to be the first to see the last baby that Deb might actually see in her lifetime. You know, as far as family goes. So, I mean, she's not that old. She's only 65 or will be next month. So, I mean, says I'm 65. I'm a great-grandfather twice over, you know. And I got legitimate grandkids and great-grandkids, and I've got unofficial grandkids, or kids and grandkids, you know, that I wasn't married to their mothers, but I raised the children, you know, when they were little, raised them to, you know, teenagers. So I've got a whole shitload of, you know, what I call family members. But, you know, he said I'm already a great-grandfather twice over. And my oldest daughter, her daughter, my granddaughter, just had a baby. And my other daughter, her daughter just had a grandkid. So, you know, I had kids all over the fucking place. I only get to see any of them, which is okay, you know, no big deal. Could you imagine if I had to buy birthday presents for every one of them? Fuck, I'd be broke for the rest of my life. Andy says, I actually preferred the Black Hole over Star Wars. Now, the Black Hole was pretty good. That was a Disney flick, too. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't Star Wars. And Dave said, Sylvester Stallone could wipe the floor with Arnold. Probably could, because the one thing Arnold didn't have, I mean, Arnold was strong. But he was so big he couldn't move. And I actually saw this in real life back in high school. This black kid that we knew was called the Tank. Guy was fucking huge. I mean, his fucking arms right there. He's, you know, 16 years old. He was, he wasn't real tall. He was like 5'8". They're about an average size. But he had massive arms, massive chest, massive legs. He was, you know, he's bodybuilding. And they said his nickname was the Tank. And if he ever got a hold of you, you were fucked. But he couldn't move. One of my friends, a beanpole, yeah, he's 6 foot tall, same age, 16, and skinny. You know, he was fast, but he didn't have enough power behind him. Well, those two got in the fight. And actually, my friend was scared. He said, he's going to kill me. And I said, no, I just don't want to get a hold of you. I said, the only advantage you got is you can move faster than he can. By the time he draws back to swing at you, you could be around the other side of him. He can't move fast, you know. You got the only advantage you have is speed. You don't have the power. If you hit him, you probably not even hurt him, you know. But maybe you can wear him out, tire him out, and he'll just give up. Which is kind of what happened, you know. Now, my friend actually didn't lose the fight. He didn't really win because nobody went down. But, you know, everybody was betting on the Tank. Because he's going to kill that little white boy, you know. But if he ever got a hold of him, oh yeah, he'd have been fucked. I had a friend like that, Ray. That was his last name, Ray Holmes. 6'1". He was 21 at that point. 6'1", about 290 pounds. A lot of it was more muscle than fat. And I mean, I watched that man pull mailboxes out of the ground that were cemented in. You know, the whole post. One hand. You know, he tore the door off my Corvair. Kid you not. You know, he got drunk one night, and when he was drunk, everybody stayed the fuck away from him because if he got a hold of you, he might actually kill you, you know. Because he pissed me off when he ripped the door off my car, and I said, yeah, you motherfucker. Well, I wasn't no runt, and I cold cocked that motherfucker, give him a good roundhouse. Fucking didn't even hardly graze. I mean, it didn't affect the money. Why'd you do that? Oh, fuck. I got the fuck out of Dodge after that one, you know. Man, I threw everything. I threw my body into that one, and I mean, you know, I'm not going to brag or anything, but I did my share of ass kicking back in the day, you know. I said I had nice biceps and a lot of upper body strength. And, you know, I mean, I won most of the fights I got into. And I mean, I fucking hit him hard. I mean, knocked him back a little bit, but it didn't even hurt him. Of course, he was drunk. You know, that didn't help either, but why'd you do that, man? Oh, shit, if he gets a hold of me, I'm screwed. You know, and that was the thing. He was so slow, by the time he got his fist up and got out there, you were down the road, you know. But if he ever grabbed the hold of you, he'd probably break you in half, you know. It's bad. So, but yeah, you might be right that Stallone could probably kick Schwarzenegger's ass. I mean, Schwarzenegger's not what he used to be, obviously, because he's old now. But back in his prime, you know, I remember seeing pictures of him. I think when he was like what 27, 28, something like that. And it's like, yeah, they don't want to fuck with that guy, you know. And I think if he'd have got a hold of Stallone, he'd have broke Stallone in half, you know. But Stallone had the advantage. He's strong, plus he's fast. So you never know. I mean, we'll never find out, probably, but and I like Stallone too, you know. Of course, he's fellow Dago. What do you expect, you know? This is Andy, and I think that it was a Disney World movie too, The Black Hole. They had some really great movies back in the day. Yeah, I saw Event Horizon too. That was a pretty good movie. Yeah, it was a little weird. Of course, as I said, but see, that's the problem. They can't make movies like that anymore because they simply don't have the imagination for it, you know. All right, Dave, have a good one, man. Thanks for popping in. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you next time. Tom Grass says, I'm undefeated in my fights as a kid. I am 2-0. After those two, no one ever messed with me anymore. Well, that helps too. And I kind of did something similar. I got picked on as a kid, you know, because I was taught by my parents, you know, from up north, Jersey. You don't start fights, and you don't engage in them. You walk away, you know. Well, when I got down here, because I wore glasses, you know, they called me Four Eyes and Tabasco sauce and stupid names like that, you know. But I mean, because I was kind of quiet and I didn't really want to fuck with anybody, you know. And then the bigger kids started picking on me, you know. I was getting my ass beat like almost every other day in school. And finally got to a point where, you know, this is bullshit, you know. I wouldn't go home and cry to my parents about it or anything. You know, I took my lumps. You know, I never got hurt bad. But, you know, it's like, yeah, this is bullshit, you know. So one day, guy fucked with me, and I said, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. I turned around, fucking drew back, and I clocked him, and I mean, knocked him down, you know. And I think it scared him, because he's like, you're not supposed to hit back. Well, what did you think was going to happen? And word got around, and it stopped pretty quick, you know. I got in a few fights after that, but it was, you know, they were unrelated to that. But I figured out real quick that if you didn't stand your ground and fight back, it didn't even matter if you lost. I mean, I had one fight. I did hit the guy, and he hit me again, and finally I went down. I said, well, you know, I'm done. I lost, you know. But he never bothered me again after that. Mostly because I took the time to fight back. I wasn't an easy target. Because that's what they want. They want to fuck with somebody. And in their mind, they're like, hey, he's a pussy. I can hit him, and he'll just go down, and I don't have to worry about it, you know. And when you hit back, they don't expect that. You know, it's like, oh, shit, that fucker hit me back, you know. Because they don't want to get hurt, you know. And that was the whole thing. You made sure you hurt them or left a mark so they couldn't lie about it. Because I had a few that I got to fight, won the fight, didn't leave any marks, and, oh, I kicked his ass. No, you did, you motherfucker, you know. And I wouldn't start a fight because that was my rule, you know. I never started a fight, and I never did. But if somebody else started, I'd try and finish it, and most time I did. But, you know, that was I learned the hard way, you know. Unfortunately, my parents were wrong, you know. You don't walk away from a fight. You might make an attempt to, but if they don't back off, you only got one choice. Fight back. Fight hard, fight dirty. Doesn't matter. I got accused of not fighting white once. You don't fight white. What the fuck is fighting white? You know. Well, he went down. You kept beating him. I said, oh, to make an example out of him. I said, I know he took a fall on purpose. You know. I hit him once. I didn't even hit him that hard. Boom, he's on the go. Oh, give up. No, you don't fucking give up after dragging my ass out here, pissing me off, you know, and bragging about how you're going to kick my ass. Ain't happening. I'm going to leave some marks on you. And I did, you know. And then I got accused of not fighting white. You know. I had a guy pull a knife on me once. He was in his car when he did it. Because I was dating his niece. Or cousin or whatever the fuck she was to him. And he didn't like it. And then what are you going to do about it? So he flips out this pocket knife about like this. Starts to come out. As soon as he got his leg out of the door, I kicked the fucking door and snapped his leg. He had a different attitude after that for some reason. Dude, don't fuck with me. Don't ever pull a weapon on me either. You know. But if I hadn't have done that, I mean, hell, the motherfucker might have cut me. Hell, might have killed me for all I know, you know. So, like I said, I got to a point where I wasn't afraid of anybody at that point. I mean, it didn't matter. I didn't care if I lost or not. But I was going to get at least one good hit in. So they knew, you fuck with me, you're going to get hurt. You know, even if I lose, you're going to lose too. Anthony says, had a guy like that in high school, never lifted a weight but chiseled body. Called him Monkey Man. Ended up a Green Beret. There you go. Oh, he had the body for it, right? Says, no punches, done, over. There you go. Well, like I said, you know, I had never liked fighting, and to be honest, I was never any good at it, you know. I probably look like a retard when I fight it. I didn't have the, I mean, you watch guys fight on TV, of course they're trained, and, you know, it's all fake anyway, but still, it looks fluid. It looks like they know what they're doing, you know. And I fought, kind of looked like a retard fighting, but I got the job done. And that was really all that counted, you know. I didn't have any grace or finesse. I guess is the best word for it. And that's just the way it was. But I didn't care because, like I said, I didn't like fighting. And I always got in trouble because I always wanted to fight. Well, mostly, you know. And some kid jumped me in high school in 9th grade on the walkway there. And we both went over the edge, landed on the ground. He's beating on me, and I'm going, bullshit. Finally got where I had the advantage, and I had him on the ground. I'm pounding the shit out of him. Next thing I know, a fucking yardstick gets cracked over my back. I jumped up. I thought another kid jumped in. I was getting ready to hit the motherfucker, right? Thank God I stopped when I did. It was the vice principal. Well, we used to call her Bulldog Hunter because her face was pushed in. She looked like a bulldog, I swear to God. But she was like 80 fucking years old. If I'd hit her, probably would have killed her, you know. And, fuck, you know. And, did you raise your hand at me, boy? No, ma'am, I'm sorry, but why'd you crack me with that yardstick? We don't tolerate fighting. I said, I didn't start it. Go to the office. All right, so I go to the office. And I got in so much trouble that day, but I didn't. I told the story before. I don't know if I told it here or not, but that was back when corporal punishment was still the rule of the day, you know. It's public school. And the principal, he was a semi-professional golfer. He had a hell of a golf swing, and I guess he liked swinging paddles too, because he had a locker full of different paddles. Some were wood, some were rubber, some had holes in them, some didn't. All different shapes and sizes, you know. It's like, I mean, the guy was really into it. I mean, I think there was something wrong with him, you know. And he was a big motherfucker, too. He was about 6'1", 6'2". Mr. Tedesco, you started that fight? No, sir, I did not. Well, we don't tolerate fighting in this school. I said, well, it doesn't matter. He jumped me. You know. I said, look, I'm bruised up a little bit. I finally got the better of him, and I beat his ass, you know. Well, you can't do that. I says, well, why is he not here getting in trouble? He lost the fight. I said, so whoever loses doesn't get in trouble, but whoever wins does? Even though the winner didn't start the fight? You know, and of course he wouldn't answer me because that would make him look bad. So he goes, well, I'm going to give you 2 licks, you know, so it's 2 whacks with the paddle. No, sir, you'll give me 1. I told you I didn't start the fight, and I'll accept 1, but I'm not going to accept 2. I guess I was being a dick, you know, but what difference does it make, you know? He says, well, you're not in a position to tell me. I said, all right, whatever. So we had a chair, a plastic, school chair, desk chair, and had it up against the wall, and you had to grab the seat of it, and your head was about this far from the wall. And when he fucking whacked you, not only did you get it in the ass, your fucking head would hit the fucking wall, which was bullshit too. That should have been abuse. So he gave me the one whack, and it wasn't pretty. I mean, it hurt a little bit, but, I didn't cry or nothing. So when he came back around to do the second one, I did a tuck and roll. He fucking missed. Swung around, lost his balance, hits the fucking ground. I took advantage of it. I grabbed the paddle. I started beating him with it, right? And I'm fucking, and I said, what was I, 14 at the time? 9th grade, I don't remember. I think it was 14. And I was a little guy. I was only like 5'5", and he was built fairly well, but not like a bodybuilder or anything. But I was mad, and I'm fucking whacking him with this fucking wooden paddle, hitting him in the back, the shoulders. I never hit him in the head, thank God. But I'm hitting him on the ass and on the legs and everything else, and he's screaming, He's on the ground crawling, trying to get away, screaming for help. There's a grown man letting a 14-year-old kid kick his ass, I swear to God, I'm not lying about this. So he finally did get away from me, because I was yelling, you think you can hit me? Bull, one of those deals, I mean, I'm cussing. I was mad, because the asshole, because I thought he was wrong, I didn't start the fight. I shouldn't have got any licks at all. But I gave him the one. He tried to take two. Not happening. So anyway, he goes into the other office, and of course, next thing you know, the cops come. They actually locked me in the principal's office. I couldn't get out, so I couldn't run away or anything. So next thing you know, here comes the sheriff. So you got 8 sheriffs come out there, to arrest me. I said, you can't arrest me. I'm just a juvenile. Well, your parents are on the way, and you're probably going to juvie today. I said, yeah, whatever. So my parents come in. Of course, my mother, she's crazy. She automatically takes my side because she knew that I never lied, and I did, And she come in, she said, what happened? I said, well, this kid jumped me in the hallway. I says, he got the better of me for a few minutes, and I finally got the better of him. I'm pounding on him. The vice principal cracks me in the back with a yardstick. I almost hit her. I don't know I didn't know who it was. Next thing you know, I'm in here. This idiot smacks me twice, or tries to. I told him I'd accept one and not two, and he said, no, you're getting two. Well, I made a fool of him and only got one, and I started hitting him with his own paddle. So my mother goes through the fucking roof, right? And she has a mouth way worse than mine. So she gets in that fucker's face, the principal, and, who the fuck do you think you are? Hit my motherfucking, I mean, this is the way she talked. Hit my motherfucking kid. I never told you you can do it, and you will never, ever fucking lay a hand on him again, or I will kick your motherfucking ass myself. And she was a scary woman. Yeah. My dad's like, oh God, he's trying to figure out a way to get the hell out of there, because he was a very, what's the word for it? He didn't like confrontation, he's a pacifist. He just rather talk it out and not, get crazy. But she wouldn't let him leave either. So because the sheriff, of course, she's saying, my son said he didn't start the goddamn fight, And I said, this is the way she talked. And he got hit for no good reason. Where's the kid that started the fight? How come he's not getting the paddle? So the principal, well, ma'am, he didn't start the fight, or he lost the fight. What the fuck difference? I mean, this is the way she talked. What the fuck difference does that make? He started the fight. He should be getting the 2 licks, not my goddamn kid, All said and done, they dropped charges against me because he was going to have me arrested for assault and battery and shit, And I probably would have went to juvie for a long time, but they decided I didn't get suspended or nothing, but he knew if he ever laid a hand on me again, my mother would sue him, the school board, and everybody else out of existence, so I kind of got away with that one, but I'll tell you what. All right, Andy, well, thanks for popping in, man, and you have a good weekend, too, and we'll see you later. And I believe it's 8:31, see, I get to talking, and here we go. So I'm going to go ahead and say goodnight to y'all, and we'll see you next week, and, I forgot to show you the other video. Man, let me show you the other video real quick. It's just model cars. Nessie, you still in here? You'll appreciate it.
All right, here we go. So, this is what I've been working on in my spare time, and I'm not messing with trains. I won this from Cousin Vinny, and I finally started working on it. It's a tough model, let me tell you. Hold on just a second. There we go. So this is what I've gotten done so far, and it's not saying much. Got some of the chassis done. Got the engine in place. Be working on the suspension here pretty soon, at least on the front. I've got to get the steering rack in yet, and the column and the steering wheel. That'll be next too. But this is all I've been doing really for the last. Well, I've been messing with this for about 2 weeks, off and on. You know, putting about a half an hour in every time I start on it, and putting aside. I'm not in a big hurry. So anyway, that's where I'm at with it. That's what I've been doing. Thanks for watching. Short and sweet, just give you an idea of what I'm doing. Anyway, I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. I appreciate y'all coming in and hanging out with me. And hell, we'll see you next week. So everybody have a good weekend. And, well, we'll see you then. Here's the outro right now.